Welcome to What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. If you're close to retirement, Andrew is here to help you speak the language of your money. He'll help you learn about strategies for creating income in retirement, managing your wealth, and minimizing taxes. Welcome to What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair.
There is just no way around it. More people seem to be retiring than ever these days. It's great to see those around us reach their well-deserved golden years, but it does come with some major concerns, including a massive strain on our retirement system. Thank you for joining us today on What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair, the founder of SWAN Capital. Andrew, so great as always to be back with you.
Yes, glad to be here, Kelly.
You're a busy man with all of these people retiring these days, right?
There's a lot of retirees coming.
So we want to make sure our facts are straight on this show. We always like to have a factual show, but when you look around, it seems like more retirees than ever are retiring today. So is that really true?
Yeah, what we're witnessing is factual. I mean, what we're witnessing every day is 11,000 retirees retiring every day. So 4 million retirees every year. And so these retirees will be surging with their retirement over the next 3 to 4 years till 2027.
We know every action comes a reaction, right? So what are the implications when it comes to the retirement system and the economy with so many people retiring at once?
Well, two things that we are keeping a close eye on is one is the healthcare system. So as retirees are continuing to retire, they're going to need health services. Now, you may feel, of course, healthy and happy today, but eventually you're going to need some healthcare. And so that's going to put a strain on all of the assisted livings, nursing homes, but of course, all of the hospitals and the urgent cares. So this is why it's so important in our planning that we talk about long-term care insurance versus long-term care hybrids. And then the second is Social Security. And this is going to be put under pressure as the influx of retirees are not going to be adding more money to the system. They're going to be taking money on the system from the system that they paid into.
How do we account for that? Especially when we think about Social Security and the strain that's going to be on this institution where I think a lot of people use as a foundational base for their retirement.
Yeah, so FDR was very clear when he started with the Social Security Act. He wanted it to be a supplement, not the entree to people's retirement, but now it's become the full main center entree to most people's retirement. And everyone's telling you that Social Security is going bankrupt. Everyone's going to tell you that Social Security is not going to be there for you. But I'm telling you that Social Security is absolutely going to be there, and don't listen to the fearmongers, because we're all underestimating the ability for the United States to tax its taxpayers. And that's what they're going to do. Some estimates have already estimated that if we just increased FICA by 1%, it would push out its solvency issues till 2100. So that means that they're going to have to resort to more taxes, and they're also going to have to change the retirement ages. I mean, hopefully we do a lot better job than France because they saw themselves in a lot of riots. But again, they didn't ask me, but if they were going to ask me, I think we should increase retirement age from 62, 67 to 70 to 65, 70, and 72. But of course, the Congress people will take as long as they can to actually do these changes till the last minute, which is unfortunate.
And don't you just wish you had a crystal ball, right, to
Make
look
me
into
emperor
the future?
for just one day, just one day.
Well, without that crystal ball, what do you think could be the economy implications when we think about all of these retirees?
Yeah, I think we have major implications from the stock market, because if you think about it, we're adding money to our 401ks, we're adding money to our IRAs. That's adding money to the economy and to the overall stock market. Well, when we start taking money from the stock market, of course, that's a drawdown on the system. And you saw that with the Japanese stock market. If you look at the Nikkei has went for 20 years and basically went up and down, but didn't have any progress. You've always been told that the stock market always goes up and to the right. Well, that's okay until you run into an aging population like you saw in Japan, where it stagnated for 20 years. And again, I hope that doesn't happen here in the United States, but your retirement plan must be prepared for it.
We're talking 20, 30 years, maybe more, right, of people being retired. So talk us through your process of how you help people plan for the unknown, the unexpected, and make sure that we're thinking about these things like the pressure that's being added to the economy and Social Security.
Yeah, your retirement is going to be different than your older siblings. It's going to be different than your parents' retirement. We've become a pensionless society. And so as we become this pensionless society, we're going to have to continue to put a focus on investment planning. And so this is why it's so imperative for retirees to have a very diversified retirement portfolio, not just a mixture of stocks and bonds or just the large U.S. companies in the United States. We want to add in things like real estate and energy investments and fixed investments that sadly have been looked upon as just alternatives, but really they're going to have to become more a part of the regular retirement conversation for retirees, because sadly so few families are truly diversified.
Andrew, I think it probably can be really hard for a lot of people when they're thinking about retirement. There's so much noise out there. How can people filter through and find out what makes the most sense for me and my plan and where I want my retirement to go?
Yeah, it is really hard because there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of different opinions out there. And I think you have to understand that most people have only retired once. They've only lived once. And even that is not for sure because they haven't stayed retired for 30 years. And oftentimes people mean really well when they give you financial advice, but if they don't have a professional designation or licenses to give financial advice, and oftentimes we take financial advice from people that we wouldn't even trade places with. And so that's what I would encourage you, even if it's not us, that you work with someone that specializes in retirement, because we've looked around the corner for hundreds of families. We've seen families their lifetimes play out over time, and we can share with you some of these best practices that have helped our clients not only thrive in retirement, but also live the inspired life that they've always wanted in retirement.
Because this is what we're working so hard for, right?
Yeah.
We got to make it worth something. So,
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for those insights. There's so much more to talk about. When we come up, we're going to cover some of the ways that you can plan ahead and feel more confident in this peak retirement era. And later in Money Talks Minute, Andrew shares tips for how to make your way back down the retirement mountain after you've reached the summit. There is so much more coming up on What Your Money Would Say. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
How does your future look in retirement? When you don't have a strategy, the future might look a little fuzzy. But with someone asking the right questions and helping you learn where you truly stand, it can become easier to work towards your goals. You need a plan to help generate income that will last as long as you need it. And the first step to creating an income plan is an analysis of where you are now. Let us help you bring your retirement into focus with your free income analysis today.
I'm back with Andrew McNair, and today we are talking about a major trend in retirement. We are currently in the biggest wave of new retirees in our nation's history, and it's having a significant impact on soon-to-be retirees across the country. So, Andrew, what are some things that today's retirees may need to keep in mind given this record wave of retirees?
Well, the sad part is this tidal wave is going to have repercussions for our tax system. So when we start running deficits in Medicare and Social Security, they have a target on the rich. And the problem is I've always never met a rich person. Rich is always someone else, you know. And so the issue is they consider probably you rich, and they're going to want to tax some of your retirement accounts. So if you have money in an IRA, a 401k, remember that to be as like frozen income. It's never been taxed. So Uncle Sam already owns a slice of your apple pie. What we don't want is that slice of that apple pie to get that much larger. And so what we do is we work with our client's CPA or the CPA that we have in-house on unwinding that IRA, 401k, and TSP in a 3, 5, 7-year period so that it can be in tax-free investments, i.e. like a Roth IRA.
Income is so important in retirement. So let's talk a little bit more about what kind of an income plan we may need for retirement.
Yeah, you know, anytime people talk about income, annuities come up a lot, and I would tell you to beware of annuities. Annuities are not right for everyone. Sadly, many times people think that they're all the same too. There are 4 different types of annuities, and you have to be careful because there's different companies, there are different terms, and there's different nuances to each of them. So before you jump into a 5, 7, 10-year commitment, make sure that you've done the due diligence. You've got a second opinion, because any investment that can give you lifetime income is a lifetime contract.
I want to talk a minute about DIY retirement planning. I think it's something some people may tackle. You said earlier in the show, we've only done this once. Right. There's hopefully one time that we're retiring and we don't really know what we're getting into, right? Since we've never done it. So I can imagine that this may be a major reason why it's important to get that right financial advisor. Can you talk about kind of the importance and maybe what you should be looking for?
Yeah, we actually wrote an article. It was probably the hardest article I've ever written. It was the 7 questions to ask a financial advisor, because I've been doing this since I was 14. It's the only job I've ever had. And so for me, it's not just a job, it's a career, it's my life's work. So it was hard to write that article. When you're sitting down with a financial advisor, one of the things that I would ask them is to see their own financial plan and see their investments. I believe that you should eat your own cooking. And so we always ask clients to ask, hey, can I see your financial plan? Every advisor, every client should have one of these, because at the end of the day, a portfolio is nice, but a plan is better. A plan that has your estate planning, your tax planning, your income planning, all in one binder. And this is what every client has, is one of these SWAN binders, because this will give your family the ability when they retire to not have to worry about where the next paycheck is going to come from in retirement.
So this binder, there's some room in here. This is a good size binder. And then is the idea that as you continue on that journey, we're just adding things to this binder?
Exactly. Nothing is stagnant with financial planning. The world's going to change, your world's going to change. And so your financial plan and binder must change with it. And so this is why when we're working with families, we're making sure that they get an updated financial plan at every progress review. And we're updating their legal documents too. So that's why if you have legal documents and you haven't had them reviewed in maybe 3 to 5 years and they got this much of dust on them, it's a good time to bring them in, make sure that there's no updates necessary. Maybe you just moved here from Iowa and you moved here to Florida or the Gulf Coast in Alabama, and you want to make sure that you have up-to-date legal documents. What better time to sit down with our estate planning attorney and our financial planners to make sure that you have an up-to-date estate plan?
Since you've been doing this, it was so hard to boil it down to 7 things, right, in that article you wrote. And since you've been doing this since you were 14, I can imagine there are some things that set SWAN Capital apart from all of the other groups that are out there. Just for a moment, tell our viewers, what is it, what's your secret sauce, if you will?
I mean, the secret sauce is that we actually require all of our employees to invest in the same portfolios that oftentimes our clients are invested in. So like I was saying earlier, is you would never go to a restaurant where the chef doesn't partake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's important, but also that we specialize in retirement. We don't work with young people. So sadly, we have to say no to a whole group of families that we wish we could help, but we can't be great at everything. And so even if you don't work with SWAN Capital, make sure that you ask the financial advisor that you're interviewing, who do you specialize in working with? And if they say, well, we work with everyone, I don't want a generalist for my retirement. I want someone that does retirement day in and day out.
You said some you have to say no to. And it reminds me, this is almost like a relationship, that you're in it for the long term. You want to make sure that it's compatible on both sides. So when people come in, you're kind of just checking to see how that, if everyone's a good fit or not for each other, right?
Certainly. Anytime you get into a 10, 20, 30-year relationship, you should treat it like an interview. And so when you sit down with a financial advisor, remember that they're a professional that works for you. They're going to be your personal CFO. And just like a CEO would take a lot of time and care before hiring that CFO, you should do the same. And so there are interview questions such as, do you have a financial plan? Can I see your financial plan? Who do you specialize in working with? I would also ask, how do you charge? What types of fees do you charge? You'd be surprised how many families come to us. 83% of our clients were working with a financial advisor before they started working with us. And they said, I'm paying 1%. Well, after further investigation, they were paying 1.5%. And even some of their accounts, they were paying 3%. And these are families that have millions of dollars. And so again, they were very astute, but not with the fees that they were paying.
I love that thought of making sure that you are walking the walk, right? As well as talking the talk, and that eating your own cooking, maybe that's the key to getting my kids to eat. I need to have them start to cook. I'm gonna hold on to that one. All right, Andrew, thanks so much. We've got a lot more coming up. After years of building up your savings and reaching the retirement summit, How do you make your way back down the mountain? Andrew explains. That is next in Money Talks Minute. And still to come, Andrew answers your most pressing questions on retirement. You're watching What Your Money Would Say.
When it comes to planning for the future, time may not always be on your side. Think about your taxes. Tax rates are historically low right now, but they'll likely be higher in the future. With the right planning and strategy, you might be able to cut your tax bill in the years to come. But don't wait until it's too late to take advantage of today's lower tax rates. Let us be your partner in planning for tomorrow so you can enjoy your retirement today.
In today's Money Talks Minute, Andrew helps guide you back down the retirement mountain. Andrew?
Thanks, Kelly. Today I want to talk about the different phases of retirement. Now, you may have not thought that retirement comes in different phases, that it's all one journey of retirement savings, but oftentimes there are three distinct phases. The first phase is accumulation phase towards your retirement goals. This is where maybe you started in your 20s and your 30s and you started with your 401k or your TSP and you put 5% to get that 401k match or that TSP match. But now as you've got older and older, you started adding in other investments because you've got the kids almost out of the house and you add in a Roth IRA or a retirement account and you keep on adding to that. Then you get into the home stretch. You're climbing up this mountain of retirement. You're seeing your investments go up and to the right. And you're seeing that your account balances, what were $250,000 are now $500,000, and $500,000 is now $1 million, or $1 million is now $2 million, and you can't believe your eyes. I mean, the stakes are getting a lot higher and higher as you climb up this mountain, and it starts to get a little scary as you approach the peak of the mountain. You can finally see retirement off in the distance. You can see that you might be retiring in the next 3-5 years. And you finally see that point and it's in the horizon, but you have a lot of anxiousness. You're gonna have to give up that key card. You're gonna have to clock in for the last time, and you don't wanna have to go back to work. You wanna do it right. But you finally make it to that peak of retirement, and you're sitting on a pretty nice nest egg underneath your feet. This is a $2 million or $1 million nest egg, or $5 million maybe in your case. But this nest egg of yours, you're at the peak of the mountain. You can see far out and you think, hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready for retirement. I've got a lot saved. And even though we've had some ups and downs on this accumulation journey, I made it unscathed and I'm still here. But the issue is oftentimes the accumulation phase of retirement is often the easiest. Well, how so? Well, if you're saving money for your retirement, we call this dollar cost averaging, or DCA for short. And when we're DCAing towards retirement, you're putting money in through the ups and the downs of that retirement journey up until the mountain of retirement. And oftentimes this is where people build a lot of confidence because they've ran into a 2008, they ran into a 2020, and because the market turned around after 1 to 3 years because those printing presses started printing money out and they didn't make any changes. They read in Wall Street Journal that they shouldn't sell their investments. They have a lot of confidence. But here's the little secret I want to share with you. Most people don't die climbing up Mount Everest. They die on the way down. Why? It's because oftentimes they're tired. I didn't say retired, but they're tired. The landscape has changed underneath their feet, and they're coming down that mountain with a lot of confidence. And this is why we specialize in this distribution phase to help those retirees have a guide, a Sherpa that's taken them down this path many, many times. And you only get one shot at this ascent and descent. And this is why at SWAN Capital, we specialize in retirement. So because we understand we can't be good at just the accumulation phase and the distribution phase, you have to choose. Now, hopefully you've been working with accumulation phase advisor this whole time, but oftentimes, I like to say it this way, what got you here will not get you to where you're going. And oftentimes, who got you here will not get you to where you're going. I always like to say that, Moses got him out of Egypt, but it was Joshua that got him to the promised land. And so it's important to understand that this phase of retirement, where the stakes are high and you've built up this really nice nest egg, We don't want it to crack, and we don't want us to make a fall. And the way that you can protect you and your family is to get a stress test on your portfolio today to make sure that if your retirement came under a landslide or an avalanche, that it would survive. And so all you have to do is take us up on this stress test by writing into that number by text or a phone call. And one of my financial planners would be happy to sit down with you and your family to make sure that your descent is as seamless as possible. Back to you, Kelly.
Have a question about retirement? Don't go anywhere. Andrew can help with all of those answers coming up in our Q&A segment. What Your Money Would Say continues right after this.
Planning for retirement can be complicated. Helping create income that lasts, making sure your health care is covered, investing while managing risk, and don't forget about taxes. If you're overwhelmed, you're not alone. The good news is we have what you need to give you confidence to start planning for your ideal retirement, all in one convenient resource. You'll get answers to some of your biggest retirement questions in this easy-to-understand, practical resource. And best of all, there's no cost to you. Take the first step toward a confident retirement and get yours today.
I'm back with Andrew McNair, and it is time to answer some of your retirement questions. So are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay, I think we have some really good questions today. You'll be ready. Our first question is from Dana. I have a 401k with just under $1 million. Do I need to wait to retire until I hit the $1 million mark?
Yeah, I love this question, Dana, because a lot of families have come into our office embarrassed. They've come in kind of shy. And this recently just happened with a couple. They had $1.5 million in their 401k, and they felt like they were behind. And when I looked at their pensions, their lifestyle, their standard of living that they wanted in retirement, I thought, actually, you need to cheer up. We have more than enough than we need. You've actually oversaved in retirement. And I think that's my favorite part of my career is I get to tell people if they've oversaved. Like, you could have retired 2 years ago, and they say, really? And I say, absolutely. And that's the power of having an income plan in retirement is it gives you that permission slip to finally clock out one last time. It gives you that permission slip to know how much you can spend without ever running out of money. I think we all need to know what our max spend number is per month going into retirement.
You've never seen them run out of your office so fast. Like, I got living to do. What am I doing here? Let's go.
Exactly. It's like, hey, remember, these are your friends, your colleagues at work, before you go in, be nice on your last month. I know you want to finally get out there, but
got to take your time. Do it the right way.
Yes.
All right. This next question is
retire-itis.
Oh my, it is real. I've got it, and I'm not even close, right? All right. So this next question is from Vince. My wife and I both are turning 65 next year. Should we both start taking Social Security at the same time, or should we consider staggering it?
Yeah, everyone has an opinion about Social Security, so I think it's a fabulous question. When we're looking at Social Security, what I would be asking yourself is your situation different than Joe at the water cooler who's telling you that you need to take it early? My feeling is this: when you are deciding on Social Security, you need to be asking yourself, what's the age difference between me and my spouse? Second, who is the primary income earner? Maybe you made a lot more over your career. Well, maybe we need to delay your Social Security then. Number three, how old were your parents when they passed away if they're not still living? And then finally, did you change that DNA makeup and genetics by not smoking, but maybe they smoked for 30 years? All of these have to go into that Social Security decision, and it's an irrevocable decision, meaning after 12 months, there's no redos, there's no mulligans. Like, you have to get this right, and it puts a lot of pressure. And do you know what we do with life's most important questions? We get onto Google and say, when should I take Social Security? But Social Security is not going to ask you those personal questions. Only a financial advisor, I think, is licensed and able to take that data, interpret it, and tell you what you need to do.
I was thinking that same thought of the conversation is so important and speaking with someone about it, because this could be a difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially over retirement.
That's right.
The choice you make.
And Joe at the water cooler probably doesn't have room for you to come move in with him if it doesn't work out.
And I don't know if I'd want to move in with Joe at the water cooler. So something important to think about. All right, our next question is from Paul. I've heard a lot about Roth conversions, but I think I make too much money to have a Roth IRA unless I'm missing something. What are the rules?
Yeah, especially with the new big beautiful bill and the different acts that are constantly thrown into the mix, it can be really confusing with tax law. They don't start over again every 4 years with new tax law. What we do is we duct tape that tax law together, and it just gets more and more complicated. So many families have said the same thing. They said, you know, Andrew, just like Paul, Andrew, I can't put money into a retirement account like a Roth IRA because I don't have any earned income. You don't have to have earned income to move money from an IRA to a Roth. I've had families say, but Andrew, you can only move $8,000 into a Roth IRA. And I say, no, actually, we helped a family literally last week move $140,000 to their Roth IRA. So it's never too late. Now, this is very controversial. I'm a big proponent of Roths, but you don't want all of your money in a Roth because there are some different tax strategies like qualified charitable distributions that we can utilize with an IRA. Personally, all my money is in a Roth IRA and a Roth 401k, but we need to make sure that you're properly tax diversified in retirement, not just your investments diversified.
Let me ask you this, with all of the changes that are happening and can happen in the future, especially when it comes to things like taxes, how do you and your team stay on top of all of the moving parts?
Every time a do-it-yourselfer comes in, they say, well, I'm managing and filing my own taxes and managing my own taxes. I'm like, well, good for you, because it is really hard. I mean, it's a full-time job for my team of 16 to handle all of the different tax law changes. And that's why we have a CPA and an estate planning attorney in office. So we have to stay up to date. And then when we're meeting one-on-one with clients, we're distilling that information to see how it applies to you. A prime example is with everyone looking at the big beautiful bill, everyone thought, well, Social Security is going to be tax-free for me now. Well, not based on your income, and the clients that we meet with every day, it won't be tax-free most likely.
All right, great. That's always so helpful because I think about taxes and it can be so, you know, cumbersome. And to have somebody who has their pulse on it as well that can help guide you makes all of the difference. So Irene asks in our last question, can my capital gains push me into a higher tax bracket?
Irene, that is a really good question because many times we're meeting with clients that have sold real estate. Maybe they sold a business and they don't factor in capital gains into their IRMA. And now IRMA is the Medicare surtax that's actually added to retirees' Medicare premiums, meaning when you retire, your Medicare premium is tied to your income in retirement. And so when someone sells a house, they sell a stock, that capital gain can actually push your income where instead of paying $185 a month, you might be paying $359 a month. And so this is one of those unexpected surprises, not in a good way, for your retirement. And this is why it's so important to make sure you don't just have your financial planning done in a silo, but it's done with the tax planning and the estate planning so that it's done in unison.
All right, well, hopefully you at home got some of your questions answered. If not, you know where to find the guy who's got the answers. Thank you so much for all of your insights today.
It's my pleasure.
And if you want to learn ways to generate lifetime income, potentially reduce your tax bill, and help maintain your lifestyle in retirement, reach out now. Andrew and the team are ready to help you start building a retirement plan designed to help you flourish in retirement. For Andrew and the team at SWAN Capital, I'm Kelly Dame. We look forward to seeing you next time on What Your Money Would Say.